Jagadev, so mastering emotions, the art of inner negotiation. Harvey is known for keeping emotions out of business. Gurudev, however, teaches embracing emotions through awareness. How do these philosophies converge? Jagadev, suppressing emotions creates inner turbulence, while mastering them creates freedom. Harvey's stoicism is strength on the surface but stress beneath. Gurudev says, emotions are like waves, let them rise and fall. Don't drown in them through Sudarshan Kriya. Stored emotional impressions or samskaras are released. A calm mind doesn't suppress emotions, it witnesses them. That witnessing gives strength greater than any external armor. The true professional operates from inner stillness, not from suppressed anxiety. When emotions are handled with awareness, decisions become wise and relationships harmonious. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna to be sthita pragya, steady in wisdom, unmoved by pleasure or pain. This doesn't mean apathy, it means mastery. The Vedas describe the mind as a chariot drawn by senses. If uncontrolled, it drags us into confusion. If guided, it leads to liberation. Harvey's emotional restraint would evolve into divine composure if balanced by sadhana or practices. The yogic path teaches emotional intelligence through breath. Each emotion corresponds to a rhythm in the breath. Mastering the breath means mastering the mind. Thus, emotional balance becomes spiritual power, not weakness. Now, detachment in success and failure, the calm within the storm. Harvey Specter is known for saying win a no win situation by rewriting the rules. How does His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji's wisdom guide us to rewrite inner rules, transforming attachment to outcomes into inner freedom? The Gurudev often says when you let go of the feverishness for results, success comes naturally. Harvey's statement, when seen spiritually, isn't just about breaking external rules, it's about transcending the mental conditioning that limits our potential. Meditation teaches us to rewrite our inner code from stress, fear, and control to creativity, trust, and surrender. When one learns Sudarshan Kriya, the nervous system becomes resilient and the brain's gamma activity rises, allowing sharper perception and broader intuition. Detachment doesn't mean indifference, it means doing one's best without losing inner peace. Gurudev's vision of success isn't control, it's flow. The true rewiring happens when ambition is married with surrender, effort with ease, and strategy with stillness. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.47, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Karmanyavadikaraste mafaleshu kadachana. You have the right to action, not to the fruits thereof. This is the foundation of Vedic detachment. To rewrite the rules of suffering, one must first understand the law of karma. Every attachment to success or failure binds the soul. Freedom lies in inner equanimity. In Vairagya Shatakam, Bhartri Hari describes detachment not as denial but as refinement, enjoying life without being enslaved by it. Harvey's brilliance mirrors the Kshatriya spirit, action oriented and daring. When infused with awareness, that same drive becomes yogic karma. Fierce yet free, Gurudev's guidance transforms a reactive achiever into the responsive yogi, one who acts fully but remains untouched by outcomes. Now, teamwork and collective consciousness. Harvey leads his team with unmatched precision, often saying, I don't have dreams, I have goals, and my team executes them. Gurudev emphasizes collective consciousness in teamwork. How do these perspectives align? The Gurudev beautifully says a team succeeds when each member drops the I and lives as we. True leadership is not domination but synchronization. Harvey's team succeeds because of trust and shared purpose. Meditation deepens this harmony. It dissolves the ego boundaries and enhances empathy through oxytocin release and increases alpha brain waves. In the art of living organizational model, success emerges from seva or selfless service and satsang, the collective wisdom. When people meditate together, their brainwave coherence rises, creating an unseen energy and synergy. That's collective consciousness where individual excellence merges into a greater intelligence. Now, in Vedic tradition, teamwork is represented by Ritambara Pragya, a state of collective awareness where many minds operate as one field. The Rig Veda begins with Sangachadvam, Samvadatvam, Samvomanasi Chanatam. Let us move together, speak together, and let our minds be united. This is the ancient foundation of modern team management. Harvey's leadership can evolve from commanding to harmonizing when rooted in dharma and meditation. Gurudev's teachings show that the best leader dissolves individuality in purpose, becoming a channel for the collective divine will. True power lies not in control but in connection. Now, mentorship and the Guru principle, the Guru Tattva, ensuits Harvey Specter mentors Mike Ross with both sharp intellect and tough love. How does this reflect His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji's concept of the Guru principle in guiding one toward inner mastery? Jagannatha Gurudev says a guru's job is not to make you comfortable, it's to make you capable. Harvey's relationship with Mike mirrors this truth. A real mentor doesn't just hand answers, he provokes awakening in art of living. The Guru Tattva represents wisdom that breaks inertia and ego. Mike's initial fear, mistakes, and eventual brilliance unfold because Harvey pushes him beyond comfort, just as Gurudev's guidance transforms seekers to experience. Whether in Sudarshan Kriya or silence, the Guru awakens inner intelligence, teaching not what to think but how to see. Real mentorship, like Harvey's, is both compassionate and demanding. It challenges illusions and ignites excellence. In Vedic tradition, the Guru is not a person but a principle. The Tattva, the Guru's Gita says, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. The Guru embodies creation, preservation, and transformation. Harvey represents the Guru Tattva in a worldly form, burning away Mike's ignorance and sharpening his discernment. Gurudev's approach too is like this, gentle yet firm, humorous yet penetrating. The Guru operates from compassion, but that compassion may appear as discipline. Just as Harvey trains Mike to navigate chaos, the Guru teaches the disciple to stay centered amidst Maya or the illusion. The ultimate goal is freedom or moksha from dependence on external validation. The Guru doesn't create followers, he creates masters. Now, managing pressure through breath and awareness, Harvey thrives in high pressure moments and says, I don't play the odds, I play the man. In modern life, stress is constant. How can Sudarshan Kriya and Pranayama develop Harvey like calmness under fire? Jayadev, stress isn't caused by the situation, it's caused by our resistance to it. Gurudev designed the Sudarshan Kriya to restore rhythm between body, mind, and breath. It increases serotonin, lowers cortisol, and harmonizes heart rate variability, enabling clarity and courage. Harvey's composure can be cultivated scientifically through breath. When breath lengthens, thought slow, awareness expands, and instinct sharpens. One places the man or the odds, the breath becomes the hidden weapon that rewires emotional response. Gurudev calls it mastering the inner remote control. When the mind is steady, decisions come effortlessly, like Harvey's courtroom brilliance. Ancient pranayama is not just about breath control, it's a prana shakti sanchalanam, the channeling of life force energy. In Yoga Vasistha, Sage Vasistha explains that calm breath leads to a calm mind, restless breath agitates the consciousness. Harvey's mastery over emotions mirrors a yogi's samavritti pranayama, equal inhalation and exhalation, symbolizing balance between aggression and compassion. Gurudev's Sudarshan Kriya democratizes this ancient power, marking and making every individual a Harvey Specter within, unshaken, aware, and victorious, not through manipulation but mastery. Now, confidence and faith, the inner shield. Harvey once said, the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. How does Gurudev's wisdom explain the deeper layer of confidence and faith behind true effort? Jagadav Gurudev often says faith is not blind, it is the recognition of the unseen order that supports life. Harvey's line reflects the Karma Yoga principle, action rooted in clarity. Confidence without faith becomes arrogance. Faith without effort becomes fantasy. Through meditation and spiritual practices, one experiences that strength doesn't come from the ego but from alignment with the present moment. Gurudev teaches that confidence is the child of purity. When the mind is free from regret and anxiety, a person who breathes fully, serves selflessly, and meditates daily radiates unshakable confidence. That the Shastras call this quality Shraddha, a deep living faith that transforms action into grace. In the Bhagavad Gita 17.3, Lord Krishna say, Shraddha Mayo Yam Purusho Yo Yacha Shraddha Sa Eva Sa. A person is made of his faith. Harvey's unbending belief in himself mirrors this Shraddha. Gurudev refines it into Atma Vishwas, trust in the self, not just the persona. When combined with Shraddha and Sadhana and Seva, it becomes a protective aura. True confidence arises when intellect bows to wisdom, when one knows that behind every action there is divine orchestration. Now, strategic thinking as mindfulness in action. Harvey once said, it's not bragging if it is true. He plans 10 moves ahead, often anticipating outcomes before others even act. How does his foresight compare with the mindfulness of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar teaches through meditation? Gurudev beautifully says mindfulness is not about thinking less, it's about being more aware. Harvey's ability to anticipate results is a reflection of focused awareness. A quality meditation deepens when the mind is scattered, strategy collapses. When the mind is centered, intelligence blossoms. Sudarshan Kriya and meditation enhance the brain's prefrontal cortex activity, responsible for judgment, planning, and insight. In high pressure environments, this means you see the whole chessboard, not just the next move. Harvey's clarity, when guided by stillness, mirrors the dhyanam state, where perception is so sharp that every action is spontaneous, yet calculated. Gurudev's wisdom transforms reactive thinking into responsive intelligence. True strategy emerges not from tension but from inner silence. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita 2.50, Krishna says, Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is skill in action. That is strategic mindfulness. Harvey's strategic precision is like that of Arjuna, focused, alert, detached from outcome. Vedic seers practice dharana or concentration before dhyana or meditation, sharpening intellect through stillness. Gurudev's methods like pranayama, padmasadhana, and sudarshan kriya refine the same skill in modern life. Strategy without mindfulness becomes manipulation. Mindfulness without strategy becomes passivity. The synthesis of both, as Gurudev teaches, makes one dynamic, graceful, and victorious. When Harvey's mind transcends ego driven calculation and acts from awareness, his decisions align with dharma, not just victory. Now, emotional detachment in relationships. Harvey often says, don't play the odds, play the man, reflecting his emotional control and ability to stay detached in negotiations. How does Gurudev's wisdom help us balance emotion and detachment in relationships? The Gurudev often explains that love without wisdom becomes attachment, and wisdom without love becomes dry. Harvey's strength lies in observing without drowning in emotion, a trait essential for modern professionals through Sudarshan Kriya and meditation. Emotions are not suppressed but witnessed. The breath releases emotional toxins and resets the nervous system, allowing one to stay compassionate yet clear headed. Gurudev teaches that true detachment is not coldness, it's the freedom to love fully without fear of loss. When one operates from the heart yet anchored in awareness, relationships become deeper, not weaker. Detachment refines love, it doesn't destroy it. In Vedic terms, this balance is called Vairagya, with prema, dispassion, blended with love. The Bhagavad Puran describes sages who live amidst family and society yet remains untouched. Like a lotus leaf on water, Harvey's detachment can evolve from self-defense to self-awareness. When grounded in dharma, Gurudev's guidance transforms emotional turmoil into devotion or bhakti. In Gayatri Japa and Trikal Sandhya, one cultivates inner stillness that protects from emotional turbulence. The seen and even in relationships, one acts from clarity, not compulsion, from unconditional giving, not transactional need. Now, forgiveness and letting go. Harvey once said to Lewis, I don't have to forgive you to move on. Yet, Gurudev often emphasizes forgiveness as liberation. How do we reconcile strength with softness here? Jagadav Gurudev says, forgiveness is not something you do for others, it's something you do for yourself. Harvey's statement reflects control, a form of self protection, but it also reveals inner resistance in art of living. Forgiveness is not submission, it is emotional detox. When you hold anger, it rents space in your mind and drains prana. Through Sudarshan Kriya, that stored resentment dissolves effortlessly. Forgiveness then becomes empowerment, the ability to move on without heaviness. Gurudev explains that when the mind is clear, even enemies become teachers, showing us where we are stuck. Letting go is victory, not weakness. In the Mahabharata, Bhishma tells Yudhishthira, Shama Dharma Sanatana, forgiveness is the eternal virtue. The one who forgives rules himself. Harvey's worldly success mirrors Kshatriya Tejas or warrior brilliance, but inner victory requires Brahma Tejas or spiritual radiance. Gurudev's teachings through prayers, pujas, Guru pujas, and satsangs cultivate this radiance. When forgiveness arises from understanding, it transforms karma into wisdom. Like fire purifying gold, forgiveness purifies the heart. True power lies not in defeating others, but in mastering oneself. Now, ego transformation from power to purpose. Harvey Specter's confidence sometimes borders on arrogance, yet his results often justify his self belief. Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji speaks extensively about transcending the ego. How can one retain confidence without letting ego dominate? Negative Gurudev says ego is ignorance of your true nature. When you don't know who you are, you cling to what you are not. Harvey's confidence stems from skill, but ego arises when identification with success overshadows awareness. The art of living practices work precisely on this shifting from doership to being. When one practices Sudarshan Kriya, the rhythm of the breath dissolves mental rigidity. What remains is pure alertness. Confidence then arises from connection, not comparison. Gurudev often says, let the ego be you like your shoes. Wear it when you walk, but take it off when you enter the temple. The temple is inner silence. True leaders move from power to purpose when they recognize that their brilliance is part of a larger intelligence. In the Kena Upanishad, it is said that he who thinks he knows not. He who knows he knows not knows. This paradox reveals humility as the hallmark of true wisdom. In Vedic Dharma, ego or ahamkara is not to be destroyed but purified from I am the doer to I am an instrument. When Harvey operates from this state, his sharp intellect or buddhi aligns with Dharma. Gurudev teaches that surrender is not defeat, it is a trust in the divine order. The pujas and the yagyas and the homas and the sevas are traditional ways of dissolving ego. By offering actions back to the source, the transformation from ego to purpose transpire into grace. Now, the wisdom over intellect, the subtle edge of awareness. Harvey is an intellectual powerhouse. His memory, logic, and arguments are unmatched. Yet, Gurudev says wisdom is higher than intellect. What differentiates the two? Gurudev often explains that intellect analyzes, but wisdom synthesizes. Intellect divides to understand, wisdom unites to experience. Harvey's brilliance lies in analysis, dissecting cases, predicting opponents, managing people. Yet, intellect without wisdom can lead to arrogance or burnout. Meditation balances the left and right hemispheres of the brain, intellect and intuition. Through stillness, one taps into pragya, the intuitive knowing that arises beyond thought. Gurudev says, intellect makes you efficient, but wisdom makes you complete. In Art of Living programs, participants experience this directly, making decision making becomes effortless because awareness, not anxiety, guides the process. Now, the Vedas distinguish the Medha or the intellect from Pragya or the wisdom. Medha is cultivated through study and memory. Pragya is awakened through silence and sadhana. In Yoga Vasistha, Sage Vasistha tells Rama that intellect can see the world, but only wisdom can see the self. Harvey says evolution would be complete when his sharp intellect bows before the hearts, as knowing the union of jnana and bhakti. Gurudev's teachings revive this ancient synthesis. The chanting of Om Namah Shivaya or Gayatri Mantra refines intellect into intuition. Like fire turning metal into light, wisdom doesn't argue, it shines. Now, dharma in modern leadership, leading with conscience. Harvey often operates in a morally gray zone, balancing ambition and loyalty. How can Gurudev's concept of dharma guide modern leaders in navigating complex ethical decisions? Gurudev defines dharma as that which upholds life, actions that sustain harmony within and around. Leadership today isn't about control, it's about alignment. When a leader's inner values match their outer actions, authenticity radiates to Sudarshan Kriya and meditation. The nervous system resets, a clarity replaces confusion. A dharmic leader doesn't act out of fear or greed but from centered awareness. Gurudev says that the sign of dharma is expansion. If your decision benefits everyone, it's right. In business, law, or governance, dharma is not rigidity but adaptability guided by conscience. Harvey's journey reflects the struggle between ambition and integrity. Meditation helps merge both into purposeful success. Now, the Mahabharata is a study in leadership dharma. Arjuna's confusion mirrors every modern executive's dilemma. Krishna's counsel, act without attachment, guided by righteousness, remains timeless. In Vedic philosophy, dharma operates on four levels: personal, the Swadharma; social, or the Samaj Dharma; the environmental, or the Prithvi Dharma; and universal, or the Sanatan Dharma. Gurudev's global initiatives, from peace dialogues to youth programs, embody this holistic dharma. A leader rooted in dharma becomes fearless because they act from truth. Harvey's brilliance, when infused with dharmic awareness, transforms the competition into contribution. As Gurudev says, when your life becomes a blessing to others, that is dharma in action. Now, karma and destiny, who writes our story? Harvey often says, I make my own luck. His Holiness Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji, however, teaches that karma and grace both shape our lives. How do self effort and destiny coexist? Gurudev beautifully explains karma is the impression of the past, self effort is the action of the present, and grace is the bridge between the two. Harvey's belief in self determination shows tremendous willpower, yet the law of karma reminds us that not all variables lie within control. Meditation enhances awareness so one can act wisely despite karmic tendencies. The Sudarshan Kriya cleanses old impressions lost in the subtle body, the anger, the fear, the guilt, or the pride, freeing one from repetitive patterns. Grace, as Gurudev says, flows when effort meets surrender. Harvey's success arises from sharp intellect, but fulfillment comes when he recognizes a deeper intelligence guiding outcomes. True mastery lies in working with full intensity while remaining unattached to results. That is Karma Yoga. The Bhagavad Gita 18.14 lists five factors of action: the body, the doer, the instruments, the effort, and the divine will. Even the sharpest strategist depends on unseen alignments. The Vedas call this Daiva, the divine orchestration that harmonizes karma. Gurudev's teachings in Vedic Dharma Sansthan remind seekers that yajna or the ritual action, the japa or the mantra, and dhyana or meditation refine karma into wisdom. When Harvey says he creates his own destiny, it reflects purushartha or righteous effort. Yet when combined with surrender or Ishwar Praninadhana, destiny transforms into grace. The wise act fully, surrender completely, and rest in equanimity. The decision making through meditation, Harvey is known for making lightning fast decisions with unshakable confidence. Gurudev often says meditation sharpens intuition. How does meditation improve decision making in complex scenarios? Gurudev says the quieter you become, the sharper your perception. Decision making fails when the mind is clouded with stress or fear. Meditation stills the mind, bringing clarity and calm. Neuroscientific research supports this. Regular meditators show enhanced activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for judgment and impulse control. In Art of Living programs, professionals notice that after Sudarshan Kriya, they respond instead of react. Harvey's instinctive brilliance could deepen further with meditative awareness. Every move would then arise from inner silence, not adrenaline. Gurudev compares it to the surface of a still lake. Only when the waters are calm can one see the reflection of truth clearly. In Yoga Vasistha, Sage Vasistha teaches Rama that a mind established in equanimity never errs. Meditation is the key to that equanimity. In Vedic psychology, buddhi or intellect becomes luminous when freed from rajas or restlessness and tamas or inertia. Practices like Trikal Sandhya and Gayatri Japa purify buddhi, allowing intuitive decisions aligned with dharma. Gurudev often connects this to leadership. A meditative leader acts from sattva or clarity, not pressure. Decisions taken from stillness ripple harmony across the environment. True intuition is nothing mystical, it is pure perception unclouded by noise. Now, silence and intuition, the source of creativity. Harvey thrives in argument and dialogue. Gurudev, however, speaks of the power of silence. How can silence enhance creativity and problem solving in a high stress environment? Gurudev explains silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of yourself. In silence, creativity blossoms because the mind is no longer reacting, it is reflecting. Many participants of silence retreats at the Art of Living International Center report insights that reorganize their careers and relationships. Silence is like sharpening the sword of intellect. In constant noise, Harvey's brilliance performs, but in silence, it would evolve. Gurudev says, in silence, solutions appear effortlessly. The practice of Sahit Samadhi meditation rejuvenates mental energy, boosts emotional intelligence, and reawakens creativity, the inner courtroom where ideas argue until truth wins. Now, the Mundaka Upanishad declares, Parisanto Mumukshu. Only in complete stillness can one glimpse the infinite. Ancient sages alternated between mauna or silence and vaka or speech, ensuring wisdom guided expression. Silence awakens the Hridaya Buddhi, the heart based intelligence, the fountain of intuition. Gurudev has revived this tradition globally through satsangs and anushtans, where silence and sacred sound balance each other. Harvey's mental agility could gain new dimensions if supported by inner quietude, where solutions don't come from logic but from insight. Silence is the mother of all eloquence. Now, the fearlessness, the inner armor of the mind. Harvey often projects fearlessness, saying, I don't get lucky, I make my own luck. Gurudev says that true fearlessness arises from knowing who you are. How does self knowledge dissolve fear? Jayagurudev Gurudev teaches the fear disappears the moment you realize you are not the body, not the mind, you are pure consciousness. Fear exists only when we identify with what can be lost. Meditation shifts identity from the perishable to the eternal. In Sudarshan Kriya, the rhythmic breathing harmonizes the nervous system, releasing fear based patterns. Scientific studies show reduced cortisol and increased alpha brain waves, indicating calm alertness. Harvey says external courage comes from control, spiritual courage comes from surrender. When you know life is supported by a higher intelligence, every challenge becomes play. Gurudev's words echo, the moment you trust, a fear has no place. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.56, Krishna describes the Sthita Pragya, one unshaken in adversity, unattached in success. That is true fearlessness. The Vedic tradition calls it Abhayadanam, the gift of fearlessness. Gurudev says initiatives from trauma relief to conflict zones empower people through spiritual resilience. When Harvey's confidence meets surrender, it transforms it into unshakable fearlessness, not arrogance but equanimity. Rituals like Rudra Puja and Mahamrityunjay Homa strengthen this state energetically. The fearless one doesn't conquer the world, he simply ceases to be conquered by it. Jagadev, so leadership as seva, power with compassion. Harvey says leadership commands loyalty and awe, but Gurudev speaks of leadership as seva or as selfless service. How can leaders balance ambition with compassion? Jagadev Gurudev refines true leadership as one who takes responsibility for the well being of all. Leadership through service transforms ambition into contribution. When power is used for self, it isolates. When used for others, it elevates. In the Art of Living's corporate workshops, executives discover that compassion increases team productivity, trust, and innovation. Sudarshan Kriya expands one's energy. Meditation deepens his empathy, while Seva channels both toward collective good. Gurudev reminds leaders the sign of success is a smile on your team's faces. Harvey's brilliance would reach completion when guided by the heart of service, where winning includes everyone. In Ramayana, Lord Rama exemplifies a seva based leadership. He ruled with dharma and karuna, righteousness and compassion. Gurudev revives this model in the modern world. Seva purifies the ego and aligns action with universal good. The Vedas say, Atmano mokshartham jagat hitaya cha. Work for your liberation and the welfare of the world. Leadership that includes service becomes sacred. For Harvey, integrating seva would mean mentoring, uplifting, and empowering rather than merely succeeding. In that lies the bridge between worldly victory and spiritual fulfillment. Now, gratitude, the magnet of abundance. Harvey often attributes his success to skill and hard work, rarely expressing gratitude. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji emphasizes gratitude as a key to abundance. How does gratitude transform one's inner and outer world? Jagadev Gurudev says gratitude is the completion of desire. When you are grateful, you acknowledge the abundance already present, and that opens doors for more. Harvey's drive for achievement keeps him forward focused, but gratitude roots you in the now. In Art of Living programs, people experience that gratitude shifts perception from scarcity to sufficiency. When you thank life, even for challenges, energy expands and creativity blossoms. So Darshan Kriya clears emotional clutter, and in that clarity, gratitude arises naturally, not as an effort, but as a fragrance of awareness. Gurudev teaches that an ungrateful mind breeds restlessness, while a grateful one attracts support from visible and invisible forces. Gratitude transforms competition into collaboration, work into worship, and ambition into appreciation. The Vedas call gratitude the Kritagyata, literally knowing what has been done. In Tatetriya Upanishad, it is said, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. Revere your parents and teachers as divine. Gratitude is not sentimentality, it is awareness of interdependence. Gurudev revives the spirit in Guru Puja and daily Sandhya Vandanams, reminding us that our progress rests on countless blessings. When Harvey acknowledges the unseen hands behind his victories, the mentors, the colleagues, even adversaries, his leadership deepens from dominance to devotion. Gratitude, according to Dharma, is the seed of grace. Once planted, it multiplies joy infinitely. Now, time management through awareness. Harvey is a master of multitasking and precision timing. Gurudev says, awareness, not speed, is the secret to effective time management. How does spiritual practice improve one's relationship with time? Gurudev often says when the mind is in the present moment, time expands. Most people lose time not because they have less of it, but because their mind oscillates between past regret and future anxiety. Through Sudarshan Kriya and meditation, the mind settles into the now, the zone of maximum efficiency. Participants report that after daily practice, they complete tasks faster with better focus and less fatigue. Gurudev compares it to a camera. If the lens is shaky, even the best subject blurs. Awareness steadies the mind, aligning action with purpose. Harvey's quick wit reflects outer mastery, but with the inner mastery comes when every moment feels abundant. Time then becomes not a constraint but a companion. In Bhagavad Gita 11.32, Krishna reveals himself as Kala, time personified. The Vedic seers viewed time not as a linear measure but as a sacred rhythm. Rita, the Gurudev's teaching of Trikal Sandhya, synchronizes one's conscious with this cosmic time, morning for energy, noon for action, and evening for reflection. When Harvey learns to pause amidst speed, awareness infuses efficiency with elegance. The balance of karma or action and dhyana or stillness ensures mastery over time. The wise do not chase time, they flow with it. Now, ethics and integrity, the invisible backbone. Harvey occasionally bends rules to achieve justice. Gurudev emphasizes that ethics must never be sacrificed for ambition. How do dharma and practicality align in today's competitive world? Jagadev Gurudev says ethics is not a burden, it is the expression of inner harmony. When the mind is centered, it cannot act against conscious stress and greed cloud perception, leading to shortcuts through meditation. You realign with your inner compass, the space from which right action arises naturally. Gurudev explains that ethics is not about rigidity but awareness, knowing when, how, and why to act. In Art of Living leadership programs, professionals discover that integrity enhances reputation, which in turn multiplies opportunities. Harvey's passion for winning would mature into wisdom for fairness when guided by self awareness. Ethics then is not a limitation but the foundation for lasting success. The Mahabharata teaches that even victory gained through adharma or unrighteousness brings sorrow. Dharma is situational, yet its essence is universal. The truth, the compassion, and responsibility. Gurudev often quotes Satyam Param Dhimahi. Let us meditate on the supreme truth. When Harvey acts from sattva, the clarity and balances, decisions align with dharma, even in gray areas. The rituals of Agnihotras and the Homas and the Yagyas and the puja symbolize this purification of intent. Vedic wisdom reminds us that dharma protects the one who protects it, that is the dharmo rakshati rakshata. Now, teamwork and oneness, from competition to collaboration. Harvey is used to working alone or commanding others. Gurudev speaks of oneness and collective consciousness. How can teamwork reflect spiritual unity? Jagadev Gurudev says when you see others as part of yourself, cooperation happens naturally. Teamwork thrives not on control but on connection through Sudarshan Kriya. Emotional barriers dissolve, envy, ego, insecurity giving way to trust. In corporate trainings, participants report feeling more aligned with colleagues after meditation, as if one mind operates through many bodies. Gurudev teaches that true leadership is about inclusion. When Harvey shifts from me and mine to we and ours, his power multiplies. Openness and oneness turns hierarchy into harmony, transforming a group into a symphony. The Rig Veda declares Sangachadvam, Samvadatvam, Samvamanamasi Chanutam. Move together, speak together, let your minds be united. This ancient prayer captures the essence of teamwork. Gurudev's global volunteer network operates on this principle. Unity in diversity. In satsang, individuals sing in different voices but one rhythm. A living metaphor for collective consciousness. When Harvey adopts this spirit, competition becomes co-creation and the workplace transforms into a sacred field of service or kshetra. Now, transformation through surrender. Harvey thrives on control, yet Gurudev teaches surrender is the highest strength. How can surrender coexist with leadership and ambition? Jagadev Gurudev clarifies surrender is not giving up, it is giving in to the higher intelligence that governs life. Control is rooted in fear, surrender is rooted in trust. When one practices meditation, the boundaries between doer and deed blur, action becomes effortless. Harvey's success comes from willpower, fulfillment comes from surrender. Gurudev explains when you let go, the universe works for you. In Sudarshan Kriya, surrender happens to the breath, the out breath symbolizing release, the in breath renewal. In that rhythm, control transforms into confidence, ambition into acceptance. The Bhagavad Gita culminates in Krishna's counsel, Sarva Dharman Pratyajata Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Surrender all duties unto me. That is, surrender liberates one from karma's weight. In Vedic Sansan, every ritual, the puja, the yajna, the homa, ends with samarpan, the offering of results to the divine. Surrender doesn't weaken the leader, it sanctifies the leadership. When Harvey learns to trust the cosmic order, his victories will no longer be against others, but in harmony with the whole. Surrender ultimately is the transformation of success into significance. Now, humility, the silent power behind greatness. Harvey Specter exudes supreme confidence, sometimes bordering on arrogance. His Holiness Gurudev Shishya Vishankarji emphasizes humility as true strength. How does humility amplify rather than diminish one's power? Jai Gurudev, Gurudev often says confidence without humility is arrogance, and humility without confidence is weakness. True greatness lies in the balance. Harvey's confidence commands respect, but humility wins hearts. Through practices like Sudarshan Kriya and Padmasadhana, the ego gradually dissolves, revealing the core of authenticity. Meditation helps individuals see that they are not the doers but instruments of a greater intelligence. This realization brings natural humility, not forced modesty, but effortless grace. Gurudev's wisdom reminds us that humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. When one operates from this awareness, even assertiveness becomes compassion and action. Success attained through humility sustains because it flows from consciousness, not competition. The Vedas declare Vidya Dadati Vinayam. True knowledge bestows humility. In Vedic tradition, every seeker begins by bowing, not to surrender identity, but to align with cosmic order. Gurudev says Guru Puja and Satsang are daily reminders that humility anchors the soul in devotion. Even the most powerful kings, from Janaka to Rama, bowed before sages. Humility protects power from corruption. When Harvey learns to bow not in defeat but in reverence to learning and life itself, his intellect transforms into wisdom. The ego says, I am everything. Humility whispers, everything flows through me. That realization turns the conqueror into a contributor, the true mark of leadership. Now, the purpose beyond profit, the dharma of work. Harvey is driven by winning cases and financial success. Gurudev teaches that true fulfillment comes from seva or selfless service. How can one balance worldly ambition with selfless purpose? Jagadev Gurudev explains that work becomes worship when done with a sense of purpose. Ambition fuels action, but seva gives it a direction. In Art of Living corporate programs, professionals discover that service doesn't mean abandoning success, it means aligning it with a higher cause. When Harvey channels his brilliance toward uplifting others, mentoring associates, ensuring justice, or helping society, his victories gain meaning beyond money. Sudarshan Kriya and meditation refines awareness so that one acts not from greed but from gratitude. Gurudev reminds us the purpose of life is to be useful, not just successful. When the heart leads, the profit naturally follows because the universe supports the selfless intent. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita 3.19, Krishna instructs Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samakara. Perform your duties without attachment to results. Dharma based work transforms a worldly success into spiritual growth. Gurudev's initiatives like Shri Rural Development Program and Prison Smart illustrate this harmony between action and compassion. When Harvey aligns his drive with Dharma, he embodies the spirit of Karma Yoga. Work then becomes not a means to prove superiority but an offering or a yajna. The Vedas say do your work as an act of worship, and even the impossible becomes effortless. This is how ambition turns sacred. Now, the energy management from stress to strength. Harvey often thrives under pressure, yet such intensity can burn out most people. Gurudev speaks about energy management through breath and awareness. How can one sustain a high performance without stress? Jagadev Gurudev says energy is more important than time. When energy is high, efficiency naturally follows. Stress drains prana, life force, through excessive thought and emotional turbulence. Practices like Bhastrika Pranayama, Sudarshan Kriya, and Shakti Kriya restore pranic balance, oxygenating the body and calming the mind. Scientific studies show that Sudarshan Kriya reduces cortisol and increases serotonin, leading to both alertness and peace. Harvey's energy comes from adrenaline, the yogic practitioners are from awareness. The former peaks and crashes, the latter flows steadily. When one's energy is sourced from silence, action becomes effortless, decisions become sharper, and outcomes more harmonious. The Upanishads describe prana as the bridge between body, mind, and spirit. Gurudev's pranayama and Agnihotra rituals harness this vital energy. Fire in the home represents prana, offering symbolizes a surrender of impurities. Managing prana means mastering life itself. In Vedic science, energy doesn't just sustain work, it sanctifies it. When Harvey learns to operate from inner prana rather than outer pressure, his brilliance will no longer exhaust him but rejuvenate all around him, as the Rig Veda says, Ayam Agni Sarva Karma Krit. The inner fire performs all actions. Balance your breath and you balance your world. About inner peace amidst chaos, Harvey operates in a high stakes, conflict driven world. Gurudev teaches the ability to smile through turmoil is true strength. How can one remain calm in chaos? Gurudev reminds us that peace is not the absence of problems, but the ability to handle them gracefully. Meditation strengthens emotional resilience. The space between stimulus and response widens, allowing clarity before reaction. Sudarshan Priya releases accumulated stress, while satsang uplifts the spirit through joy and music. When Harvey learns to pause before responding, chaos transforms into creativity. Gurudev says, I am stillness, you access the wisdom that no stress can destroy. Peace then becomes power, the kind that cannot be threatened by circumstances. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yogastha Kuru Karmani, act while established in yoga. The battlefield of Kurukshetra mirrors Harvey's courtroom. Both are arenas of Dharma. The key is equanimity, the Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Gurudev revives this state through Sandhya Vandanam, where morning, noon, and evening prayers balance the day's energies. Peace is not withdrawal, it is a perfect poise amidst the action. When Harvey's brilliance anchors in silence, his actions will echo divine precision, fierce yet free, aligning success with spirituality. Harvey defines success as winning. Gurudev redefines it as harmony between material achievement and spiritual depth. How can one integrate both in modern life? Jagadav Gurudev says success without happiness is a failure. The outer world celebrates achievement, the inner world seeks contentment. When both unite, life blossoms through Sudarshan Kriya, meditation, and self knowledge. Individuals realize that true success lies in balance, being fully engaged, yet inwardly free. Art of Living courses guide professionals to lead with compassion, clarity, and creativity. When Harvey's victories serve a higher vision, his success becomes service and his confidence evolves into contribution. The Vedas describe the four aims of life, the dharma or righteousness, artha or prosperity, kama or pleasure, and moksha or liberation. Gurudev teaches that these must coexist harmoniously. Spirituality doesn't deny success, it sanctifies it through rituals like Guru Pujas and Homas. One aligns inner intention with the cosmic will. When Harvey's ambition is guided by awareness, his life becomes a yajna, every victory an offering to the divine. This is the pinnacle of evolution when worldly triumph becomes a vehicle of inner transcendence. Now, decision making through intuition. Harvey Specter is known for making quick, bold decisions based on instinct rather than logic. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji often says that true intuition arises from a silent and settled mind. How can intuition become a tool for clarity rather than risk? Jagadev Gurudev beautifully explains that intuition is the right thought at the right time. It's not a guess, but a reflection of an expanded consciousness. When the mind is cluttered with worry, judgment, or desire, perception becomes distorted. Through Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, and meditation, the noise of the mind subsides, allowing the subtle voice of intuition to surface. In Art of Living's intuition process, children and adults learn to tap into the intuitive dimension that transcends logic. This ability arises naturally when awareness is pure. Harvey's courtroom instinct, when rooted in silence, would evolve from sharp strategy to spontaneous wisdom. Gurudev says, when you are centered, your intuition never fails. Logic analyzes, intuition knows. A yogi learns to balance both. The Vedas call intuition the pragya or the direct cognition beyond intellect. The rishis received entire hymns not through analysis but through deep meditative awareness. Gurudev revives this Vedic way of knowing through silence retreats and sadhana. The Gayatri Mantra itself is a call for awakened intelligence. Dhiyo yonah prachodayat, may the divine illuminate our intellect. When Harvey learns to operate from still awareness, his decisions will not just be clever but divinely timed. Intuition, when purified through dhyana or meditation, becomes infallible. It is the light of consciousness revealing the next step before the mind even questions it. Now, facing failure with grace, Harvey despises failure and often avoids vulnerability. Gurudev teaches that failure is nature's way of redirecting us. How can one transform setbacks and failures into spiritual growth? Gurudev often says failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Opposite values are complementary to each other and enhances each other's values. When we resist failure, we resist learning. The mind associates defeat
with the self worth, but meditation helps us witness experiences without identification. Through Sudarshan Kriya, emotional residue of failure, guilt, fear, or shame gets released. Gurudev explains that pain purifies the ego and makes space for humility. Once the storm passes, the clarity that emerges is wisdom. Harvey's resilience would deepen if he understood that losing a case doesn't mean losing himself. Success belongs to effort, results belong to time. Spiritual maturity lies in embracing both applause and silence with the same smile. Now, in Bhagavad Gita 2.47, Krishna declares Karmanyavadikaraste ma phileshu kadachana. Perform your duty without attachment to results. This ancient wisdom dissolves the sting of failure. The rishis performed yajnas knowing not every outcome is predictable, yet every action done with sincerity purifies karma. Gurudev continues this tradition through yajnas and seva, where offering replaces outcome anxiety. When Hari accepts failure as divine redirection, he aligns with the Rita or the cosmic order. From this awareness, even loss becomes a sacred preparation for the next rise. Now, compassion as leadership, Harvey leads to dominance and intellect, while Gurudev embodies leadership through compassion. Can compassion truly coexist with authority in competitive environments? Jai Gurudev says that compassion is not weakness, it's the highest intelligence. In modern workplaces, emotional intelligence defines success more than power does. A compassionate leader understands people, not just processes. Through satsang and meditation, one develops empathy without losing discernment. Gurudev trains leaders to listen deeply, to connect beyond roles and egos. When compassion arises naturally, decisions become inclusive, communication softens, and productivity grows. Harvey's brilliance, tempered by compassion, would inspire loyalty instead of fear. Compassion gives authority a human touch. It transforms influence into inspiration. In the Ramayana, Lord Rama is revered not merely as a king but as Maryada Purushottam, the epitome of righteous compassion. His leadership blended strength with tenderness. Gurudev's vision while leadership follows the same dharmic model, where firmness arises from fairness and authority is grounded in empathy. The Vedas describe the leader as Prajapati, the protector of people. True compassion doesn't dilute discipline, it sanctifies it. When Harvey learns that power need not dominate but can uplift, he mirrors divine kingship, leadership that commands through love, not fear. Now, the art of detachment in relationships. Harvey's relationships often collapse under emotional intensity. Gurudev says detachment doesn't mean indifference but deeper connection without dependency. How can this be practiced? Gurudev explains attachment as loving fully without losing yourself. In relationships, suffering arises when love turns into possession. Meditation nurtures self sufficiency when one begins to enjoy companionship without clinging. When Harvey learns to anchor love in awareness, he will experience depth without drama. Practices like Sudarshan Kriya dissolve emotional baggage, allowing freshness in every interaction. Gurudev says attachment brings tears, love brings joy. Detachment allows love to flow freely, unconditional, and alive. The Bhagavad Gita 5.10 states, Brahmani adhyaye karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yah. One who performs actions without attachment remains untouched by sorrow. Gurudev's wisdom translates this into daily life. See relationships as a sacred exchanges, not ownership. In Vedic rituals, even offerings are made and let go, symbolizing love through giving, not holding. Detachment is divine maturity when you can care deeply yet remain inwardly free. That balance turns love into a spiritual practice, transforming ego into service. Harvey's identity thrives on ego winning, proving, dominating. Gurudev emphasizes that ego, when refined, can serve as motivation for service. How can ego evolve instead of being suppressed? Jagadav Gurudev says you need a small ego to function, but it should be like your shoes worn outside, not inside. Ego gives individuality but must not cloud universality. When Harvey redirects his ego driven ambition into purposeful service, defending the voiceless, mentoring juniors, the same force that caused division becomes a source of empowerment. Seva transforms ego into contribution through satsang and sadhana. Identity expands from I am the best to I am for all. In that expansion, ego dissolves naturally, replaced by radiance of purpose. The Vedas say Aham Brahmasmi, I am the infinite. This is not egoistic assertion but transcendental realization. Gurudev's teaching helps seekers shift from ahamkara or ego based I to Atma Bhava or self awareness. In every yajna, the offering symbolizes surrendering the ego fire to the universal fire. When Harvey recognizes his brilliance as divine energy flowing through him, ego becomes gratitude. That is the alchemy of spirituality, where self centeredness transforms into selflessness. Now, the power of silence, Harvey Specter thrives in debate and argument, while His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji, on the other hand, teaches the profound power of silence. How can silence be more influential than speech in transforming both self and surroundings? Jagadav Gurudev often says silence is the mother of creativity. In silence, one reconnects to the source of all wisdom and intuition. When the constant chatter of the mind ceases, perception sharpens and communication becomes purposeful. In Art of Living Silence retreats, participants discover that true dialogue begins when the inner noise and silence doesn't mean withdrawal, it refines the expression. Harvey's brilliance in argument could deepen through pauses of awareness, allowing his words to carry sincerity and weight. Gurudev explains that silence purifies speech and gives power to thought. When you speak after silence, your words carry the vibration of truth. In modern life, silence is a forgotten luxury, but it's the only way to recharge inner energy. The Upanishads describe silence as the highest expression of Brahman, the ultimate reality. The sages called it monotapas, the austerity of speech. Gurudev's practice of monavrat, or the vow of silence, revives this Vedic discipline. In Vedic rituals, even mantras emerge from silence and return to it. That silence is the cosmic womb, or the Hiranyagarbha, from which creation arises. Harvey's strength of articulation would be magnified if he occasionally rested in silence, for silence aligns one with Satya or truth. In Rig Veda, it is said, in silence the rishi hears what the world cannot. Power in silence comes not from absence of sound, but from presence of awareness. Now, karma and destiny, the laws beyond logic. Harvey believes in making his own destiny through effort. Gurudev teaches that karma shapes destiny, but awareness gets transcended. How can one balance free will and fate in practical life? Gurudev clarifies destiny is the result of past actions. Free will is your power to act now. Life is like a chessboard. Certain moves are fixed by karma, but consciousness decides how we play. Through meditation and Kriya, awareness expands, enabling one to act wisely rather than react emotionally. When Harvey encounters obstacles instead of fighting destiny, awareness helps him flow with it intelligently. Gurudev says karma is like the shadow. Follow the light, and the shadow remains behind. Awareness transforms karma into learning. Even scientific studies on mindfulness show that present moment attention changes neural pathways, proving that spiritual practices can literally rewire destiny. In Brahandakaranya Upanishad, it is stated, as is one's desire, so is one's destiny. Desire arises from thought, and thought is guided by awareness. Gurudev's wisdom integrates karma theory with self effort. In Vedic rituals like Navgraha Homa, devotees seek harmony with the cosmic forces, not to erase karma, but to elevate consciousness. When Harvey acts with awareness, he becomes karta or doer in dharma, not in bondage. Destiny is fixed only for the unawakened, for the wise. Every action becomes liberation. Gurudev's teaching transforms karma from burden to blessing. Now, forgiveness as freedom. Harvey often struggles to forgive betrayal. Gurudev says forgiveness is not for others but for your own peace. How can forgiveness become a path to liberation rather than weakness? Jagadav Gurudev teaches that holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Forgiveness releases that trapped emotional energy, restoring clarity. Through Sudarshan Kriya and meditation, suppressed anger and hurt naturally dissolve. Forgiveness is not approval of wrong, but freedom from its emotional grip. Harvey's intensity, if turned inward toward healing, would make him unshakable. Gurudev often says, "Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it expands the future." Science confirms that forgiveness lowers blood pressure, boosts immunity, and enhances mental well-being. It's not surrender, but spiritual strength, the courage to drop pain and choose peace. The Mahabharata declares a Shama Dharma Sanatana. Forgiveness is the eternal dharma. Lord Rama forgave even Ravana at the end of battle, symbolizing transcendence over vengeance. Gurudev's teachings draw from this Vedic essence, where forgiveness purifies karma in rituals like Rudra Homa. Devotees symbolically release negativity into fire, representing inner purification. When Harvey forgives, he aligns with Ratha or the cosmic order, where justice is balanced by compassion. Forgiveness then becomes a yajna of the heart. Now, the science of mantra Gurudev emphasizes chanting mantras like Om Namah Shivaya or Gayatri Mantra. How do these sounds beyond faith scientifically and spiritually transform the mind? Jagadav Gurudev explains that mantra is a sound that liberates the mind. Every mantra carries specific vibrations that influence consciousness. The repetition of Om Namah Shivaya calms the nervous system, synchronizes brain hemispheres, and induces alpha brain waves. promoting deep relaxation. The Gayatri Mantra activates the higher intelligence by purifying subtle layers of the mind. Scientific research in neuroacoustics confirms that rhythmic chanting reduces anxiety and enhances memory. In Art of Living programs, participants experience mantras as living vibrations, not mere words. For Harvey, mantra could refine his intellect and release hidden stress, making focus effortless. The Vedas describe mantra as Shabda Brahman, the divine in the form of sound. Gurudev's satsangs revive this as sacred science. In Vedic understanding, each syllable corresponds to a frequency in nature. Chanting aligns human consciousness with the cosmic order. The Gayatri invokes solar intelligence. The Mahamrityunjaya invokes healing vibration. When chanted with devotion and right pronunciation of swaras, mantras awaken dormant energies or kundalini. For Harvey, mantra practice would harmonize intellect with intuition, making his speech and thought instruments of truth. Now, evolution of consciousness. Gurudev often speaks about the journey of consciousness from identification with body and mind to realization of the self. How does one practically experience this evolution while living a busy modern life? Jayavardhan Gurudev says spirituality is not running away from life, it is diving deeper into it. Evolution of consciousness begins with awareness, knowing one's emotions, thoughts, and actions through Sudarshan Kriya, daily Sudarshan Kriya, meditation, and satsang. One gradually shifts from reactivity to witnesshood. Harvey, for instance, could learn to see stress not as an obstacle but as a reminder to return to breath. Gurudev explains that when consciousness expands, one sees life as play, not as pressure. Spiritual practices accelerate evolution by integrating silence, service, and celebration. The Taittiriya Upanishad speaks of five sheets: the body, breath, mind, intellect, and bliss. Gurudev's techniques guide seekers through these layers, leading from gross to subtle awareness. Even amidst worldly duties, awareness of the Atman transforms existence. In Agnihotra, the fire symbolizes the ever awakened consciousness within. When Harvey lives with this awareness, he transcends circumstance and becomes an instrument of the divine. That is the essence of the Vedic path, living enlightenment in action. Jagadish, so gratitude, the hidden power behind victory. Harvey Specter often believes that success comes solely from his own brilliance. His holiness, Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji teaches that gratitude multiplies abundance. How does gratitude turn intellect into wisdom and arrogance into grace? Gurudev often says, what you resist persists, what you thank transforms. Gratitude shifts energy from complaint to contentment. Even Harvey's confidence, when blended with gratitude, becomes charisma instead of ego. For instance, when Donna once reminded him that you are not God, Harvey, his silent acceptance showed humility behind the armor. That moment, if extended inward through meditation, becomes gratitude for people, challenges, and even failures. Gurudev emphasizes daily gratitude, journaling, or silent acknowledgement before sleep, thanking life, breath, Guru, and existence itself. So Darshan Kriya expands the sense of thankfulness by clearing emotional toxins. Gurudev aligns the intellect with the heart, turning smartness into grace. Scientific research now proves that gratitude improves sleep, optimism, and social intelligence, qualities that make Harvey like brilliance sustainable and humane. The Rigveda begins with gratitude, the Agnimena Purohitam, salutation to the divine flame within all beings. In Vedic wisdom, the gratitude or Kritagyata is both a prayer and a par. When one aligns Ahuti or sacrifice in Agnikaram or Sandhyavandanam, it symbolizes giving thanks for air, water, fire, space, and the five elements. Gurudev often says that every breath is a gift. Acknowledging it keeps karma light. When Harvey wins a case, his gratitude could not be only to strategy but to synchronicity, the unseen cosmic intelligence that allowed events to align. Gratitude resolves arrogance and reveals divine orchestration behind success. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the wise see their success as great, not personal glory, that transforms ambition into service, the surrender and winning without struggle. Harvey's motto is, I don't play the odds, I play the man. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji says, surrender is strength and not submission. How can surrender coexist with the confidence? Jagadish, surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means trusting the intelligence of life. Gurudev explains that when you surrender, you stop fighting with existence and start flowing with it. Harvey often wins by predicting people and not fate, but when he faces losses like Donna leaving or Mike's imprisonment, resistance turned to pain. Had he known Gurudev's art of living surrender through deep meditation or chanting, he would have discovered peace even amidst chaos. In Sudarshan Kriya, surrender is experienced physically. The breath moves beyond control, carrying one into effortless flow. That state sharpens intuition just as Harvey's instinct often guided him better than logic. Surrender then becomes the ultimate strategy where the universe itself begins to cooperate. In Bhagavad Gita 18.6, as Krishna declares, Sarva dharmam parityajya mam ekam saranam vracha. Surrender unto me and I shall liberate you. Gurudev simplifies the surrender as dropping resistance. The Vedic ritual of Purna Ahuti or final offering during a homa symbolizes the surrender, letting go of control, ego, and expectation. For Harvey, surrender would mean trusting the process rather than only the plan. The Vedas teach that the divine will operate even through human intellect. When Harvey lets go of I must win and embraces let truth prevail, his victories would carry peace, not pressure. Surrender transforms the true worship or the karta bhava into instrumentality or nimitta bhava, where action flows effortlessly through divine grace. That the transformation of desire from ambition to vision. Harvey's ambition fuels his every move. Yet Gurudev says desire when purified becomes intention aligned with dharma, the sankalpa for the guru. How can one transform craving into creation? Gurudev often says desire is energy. When it flows outward, it binds. When it flows inward, it liberates. Harvey's drive to win is his tapas or fire. But when that energy is purified through meditation, it turns into vision rather than obsession. The moment Harvey protected Mike despite risking his career, his desire shifted from ego to purpose. Gurudev's programs like DSN and Sahet Samadhi meditation teach this transformation, challenging passion through awareness. Modern psychology now confirms that mindfulness increases dopamine regulation, leading to sustainable motivation. When desire is backed by awareness, it becomes selfless, moving from what can I get to what can I give. In Kathopanishad, Nachiketa turns desire for worldly pleasure into a quest for truth. Gurudev often references this as the highest refinement of human aspiration. In Vedic yajnas, desire or karma is offered into the fire of awareness, symbolizing transformation into intention. When Harvey's ambition serves justice rather than ego, it aligns with dharma. Gurudev's teaching echoes the same act passionately but without attachment to results. In Gayatri Japa, the prayer is not for success but for clarity of intellect. Diyo Yona Prachodayat, clarity converts desire into vision, where every achievement uplifts others. Now, the Guru principle, the light that never falls. Harvey relies on mentors like Jessica Pearson, but Gurudev says the true Guru awakens the light within. How does the Guru principle operate in modern rational life? Now, the Gurudev explains Guru is not a person but the principle that removes darkness. In the art of living, one doesn't follow blindly, one experiments, experiences, and evolves. A Guru's presence activates wisdom dormant in oneself. When Jessica told Harvey, "You always think you are the smartest person in the room," she was his mirror, a worldly guru reminding him of humility. Gurudev plays that same role for seekers, showing them that brilliance without awareness becomes blindness. Practices like Guru Puja reconnected devotees to that lineage of wisdom that guides intellect beyond logic. In daily life, remembering the Guru aligns through word and action with the higher intelligence. Now, the Guru Gita proclaims the Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. The Guru is the embodiment of universal consciousness. In ancient Gurukul tradition, knowledge was not just academic but experiential, transmitted through vibration and presence. Gurudev revives that in modern times through online wisdom talks, the satsangs, and courses for Harvey. The Guru principle would mean surrendering arrogance to guidance, allowing intuition to complement intellect. In Vedic terms, on the Guru Purnima celebrations, remind us that the Guru removes the inner fog. The Guru's grace is subtle. It makes his one's effort effortlessly successful. Now, merging the individual with the universal, Harvey sees himself as the center of his universe. Gurudev teaches that real success is merging individuality with universality. How can that be experienced in daily life? Jagannath Gurudev says, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop." In meditation, this is not theory but experience. When the boundaries of self dissolve into vastness, Harvey's greatest victories come when he acts selflessly, like defending the innocent or standing up for truth. Moments when ego fades and pure purpose acts, practices like Padma Sadhana and Shakti Kriya expand energy from individuality to universality. The result is freedom from fear and the birth of compassion. Neuroscience now supports this. Deep meditators exhibit brain coherence, reflecting unity consciousness. That's the state where even opponents become reflections of oneself. The Chandogya Upanishad declares, Tattvamasi, you are that. Gurudev's teachings revive this truth through practical spirituality. In Agnihotra and Sandhyavandanam, the fire symbolizes universal consciousness, and the water offerings signify merging individuality into it. When Harvey sees himself as part of a greater cosmic play, success becomes service and competition becomes collaboration. This union is the ultimate win, not over others, but over separation itself. That's the real Spectre move, merging brilliance with being a logic with love and mind with the infinite self. Now, the law of karma, the cause, effect, and conscious choice. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji often explains karma as both action and impression. Harvey Specter's life is full of bold moves, wins, and losses. Every choice has a consequence. How can his life be understood through Gurudev's lens on karma? Jagannatha Gurudev's karma is not punishment, it is education. Every action leaves an impression in the mind, shaping future tendencies. Harvey's decisions, firing associates, manipulating opponents, or mentoring Mikey all create ripples of karma. His victories give him confidence, his mistakes give him humility. Through awareness practices like Sudarshan Kriya, one begins to act consciously rather than reactively. Gurudev teaches that when awareness expands, karma dissolves. If Harvey practiced meditation, his choices would shift from impulsive brilliance to intuitive precision, using power without attachment. For instance, when he defended Mike despite risk, his action came from compassion, not ego. That's the beginning of transforming karma into seva or selfless service. Gurudev often reminds perfection and perform action with the totality but surrender the result. That is freedom. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita 3.9, Krishna says action performed without attachment purifies. Karma Yoga means working with excellence but detachment. Harvey's karma is intense because his desires and fears are strong. In Vedic psychology, this is a Rajasic karma driven by ambition. When guided by awareness, it matures into Sattvic karma performed for the welfare of all. The Vedic tradition explains that meditation burns latent impressions or sanchita karma like fire burns wood. If Harvey internalized Gurudev's message, his courtroom brilliance would transform into compassionate leadership. His sharp intellect could then serve truth, not just victory. As Gurudev says, the freedom from karma doesn't mean inaction, it means perfect action, free from bondage. Now, meditation and decision making, the calm in the storm. Harvey Specter is known for making split second decisions under pressure. Gurudev emphasizes the role of meditation and clarity. How does meditation enhance decision making for high stress professionals like Harvey? Jagrudev Gurudev says meditation is the mother of clarity in pressure filled moments. The mind oscillates between past regrets and future fears. Meditation anchors awareness in the present where intuition operates. Harvey often relies on logic, but his finest victories, like outmaneuvering Louis Litt in complex negotiations, come from instinctive clarity, not overthinking. This is close to what Gurudev calls pragya, spontaneous right action. Regular meditation sharpens perception and reduces reaction time by calming the nervous system. In Sudarshan Kriya, the rhythmic breathing synchronizes body and mind, allowing insight to arise effortlessly. Gurudev explains when the mind is silent, the right decision flows naturally. Harvey's brilliance could transcend stress if rooted in silence, turning competition into creative intelligence. Now, in the Mundukya Upanishad, it is said that the wisdom arises from the Turiya state, pure consciousness beyond waking, dream, and sleep. Meditation accesses that realm, and decision making there is not from calculation, but harmony with the cosmic intelligence. In ancient times, kings like Janaka meditated before issuing judgments. Their authority came from inner stillness. For Harvey, meditation would transform decision fatigue into intuitive brilliance. Instead of reacting to chaos, he would act from centered awareness. Gurudev says meditation techniques like Sahet Samadhi Dhyan or Sudarshan Kriya awaken this state naturally. As the Rigveda says, from stillness the wisdom is born. Now, the fearlessness and detachment, winning without worrying. Harvey's motto is I don't play the odds, I play the man. His confidence borders on fearlessness, yet sometimes it's fueled by pressure and ego. How can Gurudev's teachings help transform external confidence into inner fearlessness? Jai Gurudev says that true fearlessness comes from knowing you are not the body, not the mind. You are pure consciousness. Harvey's courage is external, driven by success and reputation. But when circumstances collapse, as when his firm faces lawsuits or betrayal, fear returns. Meditation brings this understanding that one's strength is intrinsic, not situational. Through Bhastrika Pranayama and Sudarshan Kriya, inner energy rises, anxiety dissolves. Gurudev explains that fear arises from loss of control, image, or attachment. When awareness expands, these lose their grip. Harvey's transformation would be when he fights not to win but to uphold justice, action without worry, like an archer focused only on the target. Gurudev says, faith is knowing that what you need will be given. That is the source of fearlessness. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, be fearless, O mighty armed. Fearlessness or abhaya is the first divine quality. It comes from Atmajnana, knowing the self is eternal. Harvey's professional bravado is Rajasic fearlessness, born of adrenaline. Gurudev's path cultivates sattvic fearlessness, calm, compassionate, and unshakable. In Vedic culture, even warriors meditated before battle to align with dharma. When Harvey lets go of results, fear dissolves. As Krishna says, to the wise, success and failure are the same. Such balance is the mark of a true leader, invincible because detached. Jagadav, silence and intuition, the power behind the pause. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji often emphasizes that intuition arises in silence. Harvey Specter's success is largely based on quick thinking and instinct. How can silence enhance such intuitive intelligence rather than slow it down? Jagadev Gurudev says silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of awareness. True intuition emerges when the noise of thought subsides. Harvey's instincts are razor sharp. He often predicts an opponent's next move before they act, but his intuition is reactive, born from experience and pressure. Through silence and meditation. That intuition becomes proactive, connected to a deeper intelligence that perceives beyond logic. Gurudev explains that when the mind is quiet, consciousness expands and picks up signals from subtle levels. In Sudarshan Kriya, practitioners often report instant clarity after chaotic thoughts dissolve. If Harvey spent even 10 minutes in stillness before a case, his insight would come from effort like lightning through a clear sky. His famous line, I don't have dreams, I have goals, could evolve into I don't chase, I flow. That's the essence of intuitive living. Gurudev teaches effortless precision born from silence. The Vedas describe intuition as aparuksha jnana, direct perception without reasoning. In ancient India, rishis received knowledge not through debate but through deep meditation. Harvey's analytical brilliance is manas buddhi, but intuition arises from chitta, the silent substratum of consciousness. In Yoga Vasistha, it is said when the mind is silent, truth reveals itself like a reflection in a still lake. Silence doesn't hinder speed, it enhances accuracy. For Harvey, silence becomes before decision making would mean responding from wisdom, not impulse. Gurudev's guided meditations awaken this inner guidance system, enabling leaders to act swiftly yet mindfully. As the Kathopanishad declares, awake is the one who is silent within. Now, the art of surrender or letting go of gain more. Harvey Specter's personality thrives on control. He manipulates outcomes, strategies, and people to win. Gurudev teaches surrender as a form of inner strength. How would the idea of surrender transform Harvey's approach to success? Gurudev says surrender is not submission, it's the wisdom of accepting what is beyond your control. Harvey's drive for control gives him dominance but not peace. His anxiety during moments of power loss, like being suspended or betrayed, reveals attachment. Surrender means acting with total effort but dropping mental clinging. When Harvey fights for Donna or stands up for Mike despite risks, he unknowingly practices surrender, prioritizing love and loyalty over ego. Meditation teaches this unconsciously. Unconsciously breathe, act, and release. In Sudarshan Kriya, the rhythm of letting go with every exhalation rewires the brain for acceptance. Gurudev reminds, whatever you resist persists, whatever you accept transforms. If Harvey embraced surrender, his victories would come without restraint. Success would feel natural, not forced. In Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Krishna tells Arjuna, abandon all duties and surrender unto me. I shall liberate you from all sin. This surrender or sharanagati is not laziness, but a trust in divine intelligence. In Vedic philosophy, the ego is like a clenched fist, surrendered opens it to receive grace. Harvey's struggle reflects the ahankara or identification with the doer. Gurudev's teachings realign this inner compass, the act from dharma, not desire. When Harvey protects his team selflessly, he glimpses surrender, ego melts into service. As Gurudev often says, surrender brings strength because you stand with infinity. Such surrender turns competition into cooperation and control into compassion. Now, leadership as seva from power to purpose. Harvey leads with authority and charisma, but Gurudev often speaks of leadership as seva or selfless service. How can leaders like Harvey transition from power driven leadership to purpose driven service? Gurudev teaches that leadership begins with the question, how can I help? True leadership uplifts others rather than outshines them. Harvey's mentorship of Mike Ross is a prime example. Beneath his tough exterior lies genuine care. This shift from ambition to contribution is the essence of seva. In Art of Living, leadership training emphasizes sattva or clarity, compassion, and calmness. Meditation reduces ego driven stress and awakens the empathy. Gurudev says a leader should not seek followers, he should create more leaders. If Harvey applied this, his firm would evolve into a family where competition turns into collaboration. His confidence would transform from self centered to selfless, from I win to we rise. In the Ramayana, Lord Rama exemplifies leadership as service, every decision for the welfare of his people. Similarly, Harvey's best leadership moments come when he stands for truth or protects his associates. The Vedic tradition calls this the Rajadharma, governance with compassion. Seva purifies the mind, turning ego into humility. Gurudev says, Mhm. Seva projects from rural education to trauma relief show how action, when rooted in care, becomes spiritual practice. If Harvey understood this, his work would transcend corporate goals. Every client win would serve justice and humanity. As Gurudev says, service without stress is success. Now, dharma in relationships balancing heart and duty. Harvey's relationship with Donna, Mike, Jessica, and his clients often pull him between emotion and duty. How does Gurudev's idea of dharma help maintain balance in such complex bonds? Gurudev says dharma is that which sustains harmony within you and around you. Harvey's inner conflict between loyalty and law reflects a common human dilemma. Meditation aligns emotion with wisdom. When awareness expands, choices naturally support harmony. For example, when Harvey forgives Mike despite the fraud, he acts from compassion, not compliance. That's dharma in action. Gurudev explains that relationships are strengthened not by control, but by understanding regular silence, gratitude, and non reactivity make love unconditional. Dharma doesn't mean being rigid, it's dynamic, responding to the need of the moment with the awareness. In Mahabharata, Krishna balances the friendship with Arjuna and duty as a guide. That's the model of a relational dharma for Harvey. Dharma means upholding truth while honoring connection. Vedic wisdom says each relationship has swadharma, its unique duty, as a mentor, honesty as a friend, trust as a partner, patience. Gurudev's teachings make this a practical meditate, then act. Awareness brings discernment or viveka to choose rightly. Harvey's evolution from a lone wolf to a caring mentor mirrors this dharmic awakening. As Gurudev says, when love and wisdom meet, dharma blossoms. Now, the strength to forgiveness is the strength to let go without losing power. Harvey Specter often holds grudges against rivals like Louis Litt or disloyal clients. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji speaks about forgiveness as freedom. How can forgiveness empower rather than weaken someone like Harvey? Gurudev says forgiveness is not an act of the weak, it is the nature of the strong. Holding on to anger is like carrying a hot coal, it burns you. Not the other. Harvey's anger, often disguised as pride, consumes his peace and clouded judgment. When he finally forgives Louis after years of rivalry, we see a lighter, more human side of him. That's the beginning of spiritual maturity. In Art of Living programs, we practice breath and meditation to release stored resentment from the nervous system. Gurudev explains forgiveness does not mean accepting injustice, it means dropping the emotional burden. For Harvey, forgiveness would mean leading without baggage, seeing Louis not as an obstacle but as an ally. Imagine him facing a betrayal and responding with calm detachment. That's power at its peak. Forgiveness, guided by awareness, transforms enemies into teachers and pain into strength. Now, in Mahabharata, when Yudhishthira forgave even those who wronged him, Krishna declared forgiveness is the ornament of the wise in Vedic Dharma. Forgiveness or Shama purifies the heart and clears karmic debts. Harvey's inability to forgive stems from ahankara or identification with the hurt self. The Shanti Parva teaches that forgiveness is higher than revenge, for it preserves inner dharma. When Harvey forgives, he harmonizes rajas or passion into sattva or clarity. Gurudev's Sudarshan Kriya helps us dissolve anger at its root, replacing reaction with resilience. If Harvey integrated this wisdom, his power would no longer come from fear but from fearlessness. As Gurudev says, when you forgive, you reclaim your happiness. Now, balancing success and spirituality, the two sides of the same coin. Harvey is the embodiment of worldly success, tailored suits, luxury offices, and power plays. Gurudev teaches that true success includes inner fulfillment. How can someone like Harvey maintain ambition yet remain spiritually centered? Gurudev beautifully says success is finding balance between outer dynamism and inner stillness. Harvey's external success is dazzling, but it often costs him peace. When ambition outpaces awareness, stress and ego take over. Spirituality doesn't mean renouncing luxury, it means renouncing anxiety. Meditation allows one to enjoy success without being consumed by it. Gurudev teaches don't measure success by what you gain, but by how joyful you remain. If Harvey began his day with 20 minutes of Sudarshan Kriya and Sahat Samadhi meditation, his decisions would come from calm focus rather than adrenaline. His confidence would no longer depend on outcomes. He would be unshaken whether winning or losing a case. True spirituality doesn't dull ambition, it refines it. Like when Harvey mentors Mike, he feels fulfilled. That's the joy of contributing, not just achieving. Now, the Isha Upanishad that declares enjoy to renunciation. This paradox means live fully but without attachment. The rishis of old were not against prosperity. They sought harmony between earth or wealth and kama or desire and dharma or righteousness and moksha or liberation. Harvey excels in artha and kama but lacks dharma and moksha balance. Through Gurudev's guidance, he could integrate spirituality into action, transforming his office into a space of awareness. In Vedic practice, work done in the spirit of offering becomes yajna or sacred. When Harvey wins a case for justice rather than ego, that is spirituality in motion. As Gurudev says, outer success finds meaning only when anchored in inner silence. Now, legacy and self knowledge, the case beyond the courtroom. Harvey often says, I am the best closer in the city, but Gurudev emphasizes that self knowledge, not external victory, defines one's legacy. How does true self awareness reshape what success means for Harvey? Jagadav Gurudev says, you are not what you achieve, you are the awareness in which achievement happens. Harvey's identity revolves around his success, cases won, clients impressed, respect earned, yet beneath that there is an unacknowledged emptiness. Self knowledge transforms that void into vastness. Through meditation, Harvey could experience his real nature beyond rules and titles. The ego says, I am Harvey. The closer the self says, I am consciousness playing Harvey. Gurudev calls this the shift from doing to being. In this awareness, even failure loses its sting because identity no longer depends on outcome. Imagine Harvey standing in defeat yet peaceful. That is mastery. Gurudev often says, when you know who you are, the world cannot shake you. That awareness is the ultimate legacy, not deals, but depth. In Chandogya Upanishad, the sage declares, Tattvamasi, thou art, that it means you are not separate from the ultimate reality. Harvey's journey mirrors the Jiva's search for identity amidst success. The Vedic view is that true legacy lies in awakening, not accumulation. Self knowledge or Atma Vidya dissolves ego and reveals purpose. Kings, scholars, and warriors of ancient Bharat all pursued jnana amidst dualities and duties. For Harvey, meditation would reveal that his sharp mind is just a tool. He is the infinite awareness behind it. Gurudev's wisdom bridges ancient truth and modern life, reminding us that the greatest victory is victory over oneself. Now, the ultimate case is the winning over the mind. Harvey Specter has won countless battles in the courtroom, but Gurudev often says the real victory is over one's own mind. How would this teaching apply to Harvey's journey? Gurudev says the mind is like a courtroom, thoughts argue endlessly until silence gives the final verdict. Harvey's sharp intellect is both his gift and his cage. His constant inner dialogue, self criticism, control, and pride keeps him restless. Meditation trains the mind to obey rather than dictate. Gurudev's Sudarshan Kriya aligns body, breath, and mind so that once his awareness expands beyond thought. For Harvey, this would mean winning without stress, turning pressure into presence. When he stops reacting and starts observing, life itself becomes effortless. Gurudev reminds you can conquer the world if your mind controls you, you are still a slave. True mastery is when the courtroom of the mind falls silent and Harvey the lawyer meets Harvey the me. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita 6.6, Krishna declares, the mind is your best friend or your worst enemy. Mastery lies in taming it. The Vedic Dhamma Sansthan teaches the Manograha, the mastery of mind through breath, devotion, awareness. Ancient rishis won cosmic battles not with weapons but with meditation. For Harvey, every case outside mirrors a case within between ego and awareness, ambition and peace. Gurudev's teachings would turn his law firm into a spiritual training ground. Every challenge a test of stillness. As the Kathopanishad says, he who conquers his mind conquers death. The ultimate verdict is peace is the only real win. Now, compassion and justice, the heart behind the law. Harvey Specter is often ruthless in pursuit of justice, saying, I don't play the odds, I play the man. His Holiness Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Ji teaches that the real strength is compassion in action. How can Harvey's approach evolve through this lens? Gurudev says compassion is not a weakness, it's seeing from the highest intelligence. Harvey's brilliance lies in his ability to read people, but he often does so with judgment, not empathy. When he tells Mike Ross, I don't play the odds, I play the man, he is actually tapping into the first layer of awareness, understanding human behavior. But compassion takes it deeper through meditation. One begins to perceive not just actions but emotions, motives, and pain. Gurudev often reminds us the more silence grows within, the more you see the world with understanding. Imagine Harvey using that insight to heal rather than defeat his opponents, resolving cases to wisdom instead of ego. Compassion doesn't dull it sharpens it. He would be the same strategist, but now his wins would uplift rather than intimidate. So Sudarshan Kriya and Seva self-service, his intellect would gain heart. That's true power, intellect guided by empathy. In the Ramayana, Lord Rama was a perfect blend of justice and compassion, firm yet kind. The Vedic principle is Daya Dharma ka mool hai. Compassion is the root of righteousness. Harvey's legal battles mirror dharmic wars. Yet, unlike Arjuna, he fights from pride, not purpose. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna guides Arjuna to act with detachment but from compassion for all beings. Harvey's journey can transform when his goal shifts from winning to the case to restoring harmony. Gurudev's wisdom turns playing the man into understanding the soul. That's when justice becomes sacred, not revenge but restoration. Compassion makes a lawyer a healer. Nyaya with karuna or justice with compassion is divine law in action. Now, inner freedom versus outer success, the real victory. Harvey Specter once said, I don't have dreams, I have goals. Gurudev teaches freedom is not doing what you want, it's wanting what you do. How does Harvey's drive for achievement relate to inner freedom? Gurudev's teaching shifts the paradigm from outer ambition to inner alignment. Harvey's life is a race. Each victory only fuels another chase. He lives in the illusion that freedom lies in control. Meditation dismantles that illusion. When one practices Sudarshan Kriya or Sahat Samadhi Dhyan, desire settle and contentment rises. Gurudev says when the mind is still, goals manifest effortlessly. If Harvey meditated, his focus wouldn't come from fear of losing, but from love of excellence. In that state, every deal becomes Leela, the divine play, not pressure. He would still set goals, but they would emerge from clarity, not compulsion. True success isn't when you get what you want, it's when you no longer crave to prove. Harvey could still close deals, but as a master of destiny, not its prisoner. Now, the Mundaka Upanishad says, Pratyaksha Lokan Karma Chetan Brahmano Nirvedam Ayat. After tasting success in the world, the wise turn inward for higher joy. Harvey's achievements reflect Karma Yoga, but without jnana or knowledge, it remains incomplete in Vedic thought. Freedom or moksha doesn't come from control, it comes from surrender. Gurudev's teachings show how discipline and devotion liberate the modern achiever. If Harvey, after conquering the legal world, were to look within, he would discover the closer isn't his identity, awareness is. That's inner freedom working in the world yet untouched by it, like a lotus on water. Now, mentorship as sadhana, like transforming others and transforming self. Harvey mentors Mike Ross with toughness and precision. Gurudev says, a true teacher doesn't create followers but leaders. How does Harvey's mentorship parallel the Guru Shishya relationship in spiritual life? Harvey's mentorship, through though unconventional, mirrors the true Guru's transformative role. He challenges Mike, tests him, and breaks his illusions. Gurudev often says, a guru will not comfort your ego, he will awaken your potential. In the same way, Harvey pushes Mike beyond limits, forcing him to face his fears. Yet his guidance lacks the compassion and detachment that defines true mentorship. In Art of Living, teaching is not control but connection, transmitting clarity. Through meditation, Harvey could become a more conscious mentor, guiding through intuition and not impulse. Gurudev says the best teacher teaches you to trust yourself. Harvey's strength as a mentor would magnify when grounded in inner silence. That's when his mentorship becomes sadhana, a path of growth for both teacher and student. In Upanishadic tradition, the Guru Shishya bond is sacred. The Guru gives the Upadesha or the teaching and the darshan or vision. Harvey's mentorship echoes as he imparts skill but not yet wisdom. In Vedic culture, a guru doesn't merely train, he transforms. The student learns through presence, not instruction. If Harvey embraced spiritual awareness, his mentorship would reflect the Guru Tattva, where he becomes a mirror for Mike's higher self. Gurudev embodies this principle. His disciples grow through trust, discipline, and grace. When mentorship becomes selfless, it turns from power into prayer. That's when both mentor and student evolve together, as Harvey and Mike did, unknowingly walking the Guru Shishya path in suits. Now, the enlightened leader, the archetype dharma in a modern world, Harvey Specter leads with confidence and dominance. Gurudev speaks about dharma based leadership, power guided by purity of intention. What would leadership look like if Harvey lived by these spiritual principles? Jagadav Gurudev says a leader is one who creates leaders, not followers. Harvey's charisma commands loyalty, but spiritual leadership inspires empowerment. A dharma based leader blends brilliance with benevolence. Through Sudarshan Kriya and Padma Sadhana, Harvey could anchor his dynamic energy in calm awareness, leading not through fear but through inspiration. Gurudev often reminds, when you act from wisdom, even chaos obeys you. Imagine Harvey guiding his firm through turmoil with serenity instead of stress. Decisions emerging from intuition or impulse. The enlightened leader doesn't chase victory, he channels vision. Harvey's ambition, refined by wisdom, would become service, success not for ego but upliftment. Now, in the Mahabharata, Krishna exemplifies the yogic leadership, detached yet decisive. The Vedic idea of leadership rests on dharma, daya, and drishti, righteousness, compassion, and vision. Harvey possesses vision and courage, but lacks dharma, says humility through gurpacha and seva. He would align his will with the divine will. Then leadership becomes sacred duty or rajadharma. In the Bhagavad Gita says, Yad yad acharati shreshthas tad tad evantaro jnana. People follow what the great demonstrate. When Harvey leads with awareness, his success becomes collective, not competitive. Gurudev's wisdom transforms a leader from a commander into a conscious creator, the modern Kshatriya of light. Now, the ego transcendence from winning to wisdom. Harvey Specter says, win a no-win situation by rewriting the rules. Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji teaches that the real victory is over one's ego. How does Harvey's idea of winning evolve when seen through this spiritual lens? Jayadav Gurudev often reminds us ego is ignorance of your true nature. When you drop it, wisdom shines. Harvey's entire career revolves around domination, bending rules to prove superiority. Yet beneath his confidence lies fear, fear of losing, fear of appearing weak. In Art of Living, practices like Sudarshan Kriya and Sahat Samadhi Dhyana dissolve this subtle tension. They bring awareness that the true power lies in equanimity, not control. Harvey's statement about rewriting the rules reflects his innate creativity, but spirituality teaches to rewrite them not from ego but from enlightenment. For instance, when Harvey defends Donna, he acts not to win a case but to protect someone he deeply values. That is a dharma in action, doing the right thing without attachment to results. Gurudev says, when you rise above ego, every act becomes an offering, not a competition. Harvey's brilliance would expand manifold when driven by clarity rather than pride. His mind sharp, yet heart soft. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Nirmamo Nirahankara, act without ego or ownership. Ego binds while surrender liberates. Harvey's no-win situations mirror Arjuna's battlefield dilemmas. Both face moral and strategic conflict, but where Arjuna surrendered to Krishna's wisdom, Harvey relies on his intellect alone. If he practiced the Vedic path of Atma Vichara or self inquiry, he would see that his victories are fleeting reflections of external validations. The real win is inner stillness, where he no longer needs to prove. Gurudev's teachings guide leaders like Harvey to transform ego into excellence, competition into contribution. Then rewriting the rules becomes rewriting consciousness from self centered to soul centered leadership. Now, intuition versus logic, the power beyond thinking. Harvey Specter's sharp logical mind solves impossible cases, Gurudev says logic can take you from point A to B, intuition can take you anywhere. How can Harvey's brilliance expand through intuition? David Harvey is a master strategist. He trusts data, instincts, and timing. But intuition isn't instinct, it's intelligence guided by stillness. Gurudev often explains intuition as the right thought that rises before logic. Through meditation, the mind becomes so silent that it naturally receives the right response without effort. Imagine Harvey during a crisis. Instead of overthinking 10 outcomes, he simply pauses, breathes deeply, and clarity dawns. Many great leaders from Steve Jobs to Krishna in the Mahabharata operated from intuitive vision. Harvey's famous line, I don't have dreams, I have goals, would shift to I have clarity. The difference, one comes from ambition, the other from awareness and seva. With regular Sudarshan Kriya, Harvey's sharp mind would become luminous, capable of insight beyond analysis. Intuition turns a good lawyer into a visionary leader. Now, the Upanishads describe the prakya or the higher intelligence that transcends logic. The rishis didn't reason truth, they realized it. Similarly, Krishna guided Arjuna not through reasoning but through divine intuition, the viveka or discriminative power born of meditation. Harvey's intellect is his sword, intuition would make it divine. The Vedic process of dhyana or meditation and sankalpa shakti using sahat samadhi dhyana or intent enables one to perceive hidden truths, much like how Harvey leads people and reads people but on a subtler and spiritual plane. Gurudev says when the intellect rests in the self, decisions flow effortlessly. Harvey's greatest asset would then be not logic but luminous awareness, the silent knowing that wins battles before they begin. Now, emotional mastery or handling pressure like a yogi, Harvey often hides his emotions behind confidence. Gurudev says emotions are powerful. When managed, they heal. When suppressed, they hurt. How would Harvey's approach change through yogic mastery of emotions? Harvey's emotional armor is legendary. No weakness, no tears, no fear. Yet this repression drains his vitality. Gurudev explains suppressed emotions create restlessness, expressed emotions create relationships. Through Sudarshan Kriya, emotions are neither suppressed nor indulged. They are transcended. The breath becomes a bridge between mind and emotion. If Harvey practice this, his outbursts, guilt, and sleepless nights would dissolve into calm power. He could still be assertive, but from balance, not burnout. Think of when he lost Jessica or nearly lost Mike. He is suffering. His suffering came from attachment, not love. To meditation, he would learn vairagya, love without clinging, care without control. Gurudev says the strongest man smiles through storms. That's the true Harvey, confident yet compassionate, firm yet free. In a Yoga Vasista sage, Vasista says, emotions are waves, the wisdom is the ocean. Harvey's waves often overwhelm him, but yogic wisdom teaches stillness beneath emotion and motion. The Vedic approach of pranayama, dhyana, and japa transforms emotions into devotion. Even anger becomes a krodha yoga or energy directed toward righteousness. When Harvey channels passion into purpose, he becomes like Arjuna, a warrior acting from awareness, not reaction. Gurudev's guidance would help him see that emotional mastery is in control. It's a communion. When intellect and emotion unite, the man becomes divine. Now, handling betrayal, the art of letting go. Harvey has faced betrayal from colleagues and clients. Gurudev teaches forgiveness is not for others, it is for your own peace. How does this wisdom help someone like Harvey? Betrayal shatters trust, and Harvey equates trust with identity. His fury toward Mike's secret or Jessica's departure stemmed from deep attachment. Gurudev says, when you hold on to her, you keep drinking poison, expecting the other side to die. Forgiveness is the detox. It doesn't justify betrayal, but frees the heart from vengeance. So Sudarshan Kriya. One releases pain on the level of prana. Imagine Harvey sitting in stillness, breath by breath, the heat of resentment melting into clarity. Forgiveness then becomes strength, the ability to see betrayal as a lesson in detachment. When Harvey forgives, he doesn't lose power, he regains peace. Gurudev calls it Shanti in Shakti, peace in power. The Ramayana reveals Rama forgiving Kaikai and Krishna forgiving Seshupal because divine beings act from awareness, not emotion. The Shama or forgiveness is considered a divine virtue. The Shama virasya bhushatam and bhushanam. Forgiveness is the ornament of the brave. Harvey's resilience would reach divine strength when he channels betrayal into blessing. The Vedic principle is clear, let go and you grow. Gurudev's wisdom transforms wounds into wisdom, where betrayal becomes the path to inner mastery. Now, living with purpose from success to significance, Harvey says it's not bragging if it is true. Gurudev says the purpose of life is to serve. How can Harvey's success transform into significance to this perspective? Harvey defines success by victory and status. Gurudev defines it by contribution. When Harvey mentors Mike, stands by Donna, or saves a struggling associate, we glimpse his higher self, the server, not the winner. Gurudev says, when you live for others, joy never ends. Through seva and meditation, Harvey's ambition would become altruism, his sharpness would still shine, but as service to society, mentoring young lawyers, defending the voiceless, and inspiring ethical leadership. That shift from what can I get to what can I give is spiritual maturity. Gurudev calls it Sukha Samriddha Yoga. Samriddhi Yoga, prosperity rooted in joy. Then Harvey wouldn't just close deals, he would open hearts. The Vedas declare the Paropkarya Idam Shariram. This body is for the service of others. Dharma transforms personal ambition into universal benefit. Like Arjuna, Harvey can turn his profession into yajna, sacred offering through work. When the doer disappears and duty shines, success becomes sacred. Gurudev's wisdom bridges modern ambition with ancient ethics, showing that the greatest lawyer isn't one who wins cases, but one who upholds the truth. That's the journey from Harvey Specter to a Karma Yogi, from success to significance, from power to purpose. Now, relationships and authentic connection from control to compassion. Harvey Specter often keeps emotional distance in relationships, saying, caring makes you weak. Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji teaches, love is not attachment, it's the nature of the soul. How would Harvey's view of relationships evolve through this wisdom? Jayaguru Gurudev often says, true love gives freedom, not fear. Harvey's fear of vulnerability is rooted in a misunderstanding. He equates caring with losing control. And art of living love is independency, it's expansion of consciousness. When one meditates, the heart becomes vast enough to include everyone without clinging to anyone. Harvey's interactions with Donna, Jessica, and Mike show flashes of this evolution. His love for Donna is deep, but attachment makes him insecure. His loyalty to Jessica is pure, yet pride taints it. Through Sudarshan Kriya and Sahat Samadhi meditation, emotions define into compassion. Then love becomes strength, not possession. Imagine Harvey dealing with Donna, not through control, but through care rooted in freedom. Gurudev says, when you know you are love, you stop seeking it. That's when relationships become spiritual practice, effortless, joyful, and liberating. In the Vedic view, relationships are not contracts but sacred connections. The Bandhutta and the Bhagavad Gita teaches us Samatvam Yoga Uchate. Equanimity is yoga. Harvey's relationships swing between intensity and detachment. A yogi learns balance, the Madhyastha Bhava, staying centered amidst affection and conflict. The love between Krishna and Arjuna or Rama and Lakshmana reflects Nishkam Prema, unconditional purpose driven love. If Harvey practiced the Bhakti Yoga, his love would elevate from emotion to devotion. He would see Donna not as someone he needs, but as a soul walking beside him in evolution. That's the transmission Gurudev guides from emotional entanglement to spiritual union. Now, mindfulness in action, staying still amidst chaos. Harvey thrives in high pressure chaos. Gurudev says the sign of mastery is calmness in action. How would mindfulness enhance Harvey's performance in the courtroom and beyond? Gurudev defines meditation as being 100% in the moment, yet untouched by it. Harvey's genius lies in focus. He reads people, anticipates moves, and dominates the room. But internally, he would be often driven by adrenaline. Through mindfulness and breathing practices, Harvey could retain his sharpness without mental exhaustion. In Sudarshan Kriya, breath synchronizes energy and awareness. After just a few minutes of rhythmic breathing, the mind becomes still but alert, exactly what Harvey needs before walking into court. Gurudev often says stillness within creates dynamism without. Imagine Harvey facing a crisis like losing Pierce and Spectre lit. Instead of reacting with rage, he pauses, breathes, and acts from clarity. That's not weakness, it's mastery. Like a martial artist, he moves from centered awareness, spontaneous yet precise. Meditation would make Harvey unstoppable, not because of aggression but alignment. The Vedas call this state the Sthita Pragya, the steady intellect, calm in turbulence. Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Yogastha Kuru Karmani, act with establish in yoga. Harvey's world mirrors Kurukshetra, intense competition, moral conflict, and constant decision making. With mindfulness, he would transform from a reactive warrior to a conscious Kshatriya. The Vedic tradition integrates breath with action through pranayama. One learns to act without agitation. Gurudev revives this wisdom, teaching that silence is the highest strength. If Harvey worked from that inner silence, his decision would carry the weight of truth, not tension, law infused with dharma. Now, self identity beyond the best closer in New York. Harvey defines himself by his reputation. I am the best closer in New York. Gurudev teaches you are not your name, possession, or success. You are pure consciousness. How does this change Harvey's perception of self? Gurudev says the biggest illusion is to think you are only what you do. Harvey's identity is performance driven. When he wins, he feels invincible. When he fails, he collapses internally. So spirituality dissolves his duality. Through meditation, one experiences Sakshi Bhav, the witness state where you observe beyond yourself beyond rules. Harvey would then see that the closer is just a costume his consciousness wears temporarily. His real self is unshakable awareness, free from success or failure. Gurudev often uses a metaphor of a movie. You can cry in the scene, but never forget you are the actor. Imagine Harvey negotiating a case, aware of the role yet detached. That calm confidence is unbreakable. He would still dominate, but without a burden of proving. The best closer then would simply be not to impress, but to express excellence naturally. Now, the Chandogya Upanishad declares Tattvamasi, thou art that Harvis's journey mirrors the seeker's journey from ego identity or ahamkara to self realization or Atman. The Vedic understanding says your profession is your dharma, not your definition. When one realizes the Atman, outer labels fade, inner peace dawns. If Harvey internalizes his work would become Karma Yoga, perfect action without attachment, he would win cases not to prove self worth but to uphold truth. Gurudev's knowledge helps dissolve false identity, revealing the infinite behind the individual. Now, the surrender of the strength in letting go. Harvey rarely gives up control. Gurudev says, surrender is not defeat, it's trust in the higher intelligence. How could surrender make Harvey stronger, not weaker? Gurudev beautifully explains when you let go, the universe takes over. Harvey's obsession with control limits his creativity. Surrender doesn't mean passivity, it means total effort followed by total trust. Through practices like Sahat Samadhi Dhyana, Harvey could experience the joy of letting go after full commitment. When he defended Mike or rebuilt his firm, stress arose not from action but from over attachment to outcomes. Imagine Harvey, after doing his best, simply relaxing into acceptance. Paradoxically, surrender sharpens focus because the mind stops resisting what is. Gurudev says faith is knowing that what you need will be given even if it is not what you wanted. If Harvey trusted that intelligence, every crisis would reveal hidden grace. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva dharmam parityajya mam ekam sharanam braja. Surrender everything unto me. Arjuna found victory only after surrendering his doership. The Vedic path views surrender or sharanagati as the highest strength. Ego dissolved and divine intelligence acts through you. Harvey's surrender would not make him lose his edge. It would make him a divine instrument. Gurudev embodies this principle, acting dynamically yet effortlessly. When Harvey learns this, his power becomes prayer, success aligned with the universe, not against it. Now, enlightenment in the modern world, a specter of awareness. Harvey Specter stands for intellect, ambition, and wit. Gurudev represents silence, compassion, and awareness. Is enlightenment possible for someone like Harvey, immersed in corporate chaos? Jai Gurudev says enlightenment is not an escape from life, it's a deeper way of living it. Harvey doesn't need to renounce the courtroom to find peace. He just needs to renounce the inner turbulence. Enlightenment means living with total awareness, joy, and balance in every action. When Harvey operates from clarity, when decisions come effortlessly, when kindness coexists with power, that is a glimpse of enlightenment. With daily Sudarshan Kriya, meditation, and selfless service or seva, even a corporate lawyer can live like a yogi in a suit. Gurudev often laughs, the world doesn't need more saints in caves, but wise people in boardrooms. Harvey integrated with consciousness would transform not just clients, but culture leading with brilliance and benevolence. The Vedas affirm Aham Brahmasmi, I am divine consciousness. Enlightenment is realizing the truth in every breath, even amidst chaos. Krishna led a kingdom, Janaka ruled an empire, yet both were enlightened. Harvey's world of law and negotiation is his Kurukshetra. If he practices awareness and detachment, every case becomes meditation, every decision a form of worship. Gurudev's teachings merge ancient Vedic wisdom with modern life, proving that enlightenment isn't distant or mystical. It's the art of living with full awareness in every moment, everywhere, even in a glass walled office on the 50th floor. Now, in Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji's discourse, You and the Universe, how does the idea of unshakable inner confidence connect to the Vedantic vision of the self as infinite consciousness? Can this be seen in the modern archetypes like Harvey Specter from Suits? The discourse by Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji brings to light a profound Vedantic realization that the self or Atman is infinite, unbound, and inherently complete. When a person identifies with this vast consciousness, all fears, insecurities, and doubts dissolve. Gurudev often says when you are connected to the source, confidence is not something you build, it is something you remember. This remembering of one's true nature is infinite consciousness gives rise to a kind of confidence that does not depend on external success or validation. Now, when we translate this into modern symbols, Harvey Specter from Suits embodies a worldly reflection of this truth. Harvey's confidence is almost mythic. He walks into a courtroom not hoping to win, but knowing he will. Yet, what differentiates him from mere arrogance is his internal code of self belief, honed through experience and clarity. He is not overconfident, he is centered. In spiritual language, we can say he operates from Swadharma, his own nature, his own truth. Gurudev's teaching implies that when one's mind is still and centered through practices like Sudarshan Kriya and Sahat Samadhi meditation or guided meditation, one accesses a state similar to Harvey's unshakable focus. The difference is that in Vedanta, this confidence arises from silence, while in Harvey's world, it arises from mastery. But both demonstrate the same principle. When you know who you are and what you stand for, the world bends in your favor. In essence, the Harvey Specter illustrates the modern echo of an ancient truth. Self realization manifests as supreme confidence. Gurudev's wisdom teaches that this isn't just for saints or lawyers, it's the birthright of every awakened human being. Now, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Ji in You and the Universe explains that detachment is not indifference but freedom from dependence. How can this spiritual detachment be related to Harvey Specter's approach to relationships, work, and outcomes in suits? Gurudev beautifully distinguishes vairagya or detachment from apathy. True detachment, he says, is the art of being fully engaged yet internally free to act wholeheartedly without being enslaved by the outcome. It's not about withdrawal from the world, but rather participating with awareness, grace, and stability. When one realizes that the universe is constantly changing and all that all possessions, relationships, and rules are transient, detachment becomes natural. This realization empowers rather than weakens. In Suits, Harvey Specter exemplifies this in a worldly form. While he is deeply invested in his cases and fiercely loyal to his team, he doesn't let loss, rejection, or betrayal cripple him. When his protege Mike Ross faces prison, Harvey doesn't crumble, he adapts, strategizes, and continues with clarity. This is the Vedantic Karma Yoga in action, total involvement without emotional dependency. His composure amidst chaos mirrors what Gurudev teaches. When your center is within you, the storms outside cannot shake you. Harvey's detachment isn't coolness, it's a clarity. He genuinely cares about Mike, Donna, and Jessica, but his sense of identity doesn't depend on their approval or presence. That's what makes him powerful. Similarly, Gurudev teaches that a spiritual seeker must love everyone deeply, not but not cling to anyone. That love must flow, not bind. Thus, Harvey's style of confidence detachment can be seen as a worldly reflection of spiritual wisdom. Like a meditator who observes thoughts without getting entangled, Harvey observes his emotions yet chooses action from awareness. Detachment, as Gurudev says, is not about walking away, it's about walking free. Harvey Specter walks free because his mind wasn't and doesn't own outcomes, it commands presence. Now, Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji often says, your perception defines your reality. In You and the Universe, he explains how the mind projects its own patterns onto the world. How does this concept align with Harvey Specter's way of handling perception, image, and mindset in Suits? Gurudev's statement, your perception defines the world, is both scientific and spiritual. The mind doesn't see things as they are, it sees things as it is. The universe we experience is filtered through layers of conditioning, memory, emotion, and belief. Change the lens, and the whole world changes. This is why Gurudev emphasizes meditation. It clears the lens of perception so reality is seen as it is, the vast, fluid, and interconnected. In short, Harvey Specter is a living example of how perception shapes reality. He knows that in the world of high stakes law, the image you project determines the result you attract. I don't play the odds, I play the man, he famously says, meaning he doesn't just react to situations, he reinterprets and reframes them. This reframing is exactly what Gurudev calls mastery or perception. When Harvey walks into a negotiation, his belief that he is the best lawyer in the room isn't arrogance, it's a deliberate state of mind. His perception creates his experience even when he is at his lowest, like when he loses clients or faces disbarment. He reprograms his inner dialogue instead of collapsing under external pressure. This is spiritual intelligence in a worldly form. Gurudev's wisdom and Harvey's strategy converge here. Both teach that the world is not fixed, it is fluid. responsive to inner vibration. Gurudev invites seekers to shift perception through stillness and awareness. Harvey does it through confidence and cognition. Ultimately, both illustrate that when you master perception, you no longer react, you create the universe that mirrors your certainty, not your fear, Jay Gurudev.